So what are you doing right now? I want to challenge you from this day all the way to the end of the lockout. I want to challenge you to not waste the precious time God has given you. You know, this morning as I was spending my quiet time with the Lord, I was reading through the Psalms, and God impressed upon me to share with y'all my favorite psalm, which is the 90th Psalm. Now, the 90th Psalm is an interesting psalm because it is the oldest of all the Psalms, and it was written by, get this, it was written by Moses. And Moses did a wonderful job. He gave such a timeless message of God's nature juxtaposed to the frailty of man. And if you were to read through the psalm, we're not going to read through that psalm this morning, but we are going to read through two verses, verses 4 and 12. They're going to be on the screen here in a minute. You're going to see this wonderful timeless message. Look at verse 4. Verse 4 says, 1,000 years in your sight are like a day that has just gone by, or like a watch in the night. Verse 12, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Now, Moses does two things here. He does two things. The first is this. He tells us that 1,000 years are like a day to God. Now, isn't that just an amazing statement? God, the creator of the universe, is not limited by time like we are. Now, I think about it this time right now. This is a time where we can get very discouraged. We've talked about that over the last couple days. We can get discouraged when things like this hit. Because we all had plans, right? Some of you had plans to go on spring break. You had plans, and now those plans are canceled. Businesses were ramping up for the Easter holiday, and now a lot of those plans are canceled. Churches, I was ramping up with postcard advertising and internet advertising, and we were getting ready to have an awesome Palm Sunday and Resurrection Sunday service, and then now we're doing virtual church, and it's just very, very weird. Everybody had plans. And plans changed. And it's very easy to get discouraged during times like this because we were doing things and then nothing changed after that. Everything has stayed the same. Everything is frozen like it was 3 weeks ago. And the question can be asked, did God see this coming? And the answer is yes. Yes, He did. Because here's the thing, we cannot assume that God is limited like we are by time. God is not restricted by time. And you know what that makes God? That makes God eternal. And because He is eternal, we can have full dependence upon God in times of discouragement like this, when things like COVID and financial crises rear their ugly heads. Now, the second truth is this, is that God doesn't waste time. We see in verse 12 that Moses tells us to number our days so that we may gain a heart of wisdom. I want you to realize something here. You need to realize that our time on earth is extremely short, and we should be motivated to use it wisely, especially with regard to eternity. You know, God woke me up this morning about 3 a.m. and I had the weirdest dream, and I laid there for the longest time trying to get back to sleep. And then I felt the prompting of the Lord to start praying for our church family and then to pray for the city. And when I said amen, it was 5 a.m. Now, here's the thing. Right at 5 a.m., I said amen, and I fell asleep very, very quickly after that. And I could have just laid there from 3 to 5, and I could have fretted over not getting enough sleep. And if you know me well enough. When I don't get enough sleep, I'm a grouch. You know, I really can be a grouch. Or I could have got up, I could have came downstairs, I could have sat in front of the TV, watched a movie or watched an old TV show, I could have watched the news. I could have done a million different things, but by God's prompting I prayed, and He allowed me to use that time wisely. And I think we need to ask God some important questions during this time about using our time wisely. And here are a few questions that I think we should ask God. God, how should I number my days before you call me home? God, how can I serve my family and my church and my community better during this lockdown? Lord, is there one small step that I can help someone take in their walk with the Lord? Is there one small step that I can help someone take to finding the Lord? Is there one small step I can help somebody with regards to eternity? You see, God has given us this time so that we can change. God has given us this time so that we can grow in wisdom. God has given us this time so we can invest in His kingdom. And here's the greatest thing is God has given us this time that we can impact our families for eternity. So I challenge you today, do not waste this precious time the Lord has given you. Use it wisely. Amen? Amen. Hey, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.